Obviously, Clay had goal and 2 assists in that first half. Just what does he bring to the lineup different from, I guess, anyone else?
He's got tremendous pace, and we've been working hard in this final product. So tonight I thought that he played really well besides his production, which is incredible, with 2 assists and a goal. But the timing of that, I love the first goal in general, just the timing of the rhythm. Collins creates it. But the way he waited for Barner was really well timed. And the pullback to Palmer was great. Mm-hmm. And then his finish is what he does have that in him. It's just he's picked and choose the wrong times in the past to hit the heavy club, the driver. But that was the right moment. That was like the right presentation, like to be able to strike with that velocity. And he was a kicker, so he can hit the heck out of a ball. It's just the ones that he should use the inside of the foot. And years past is the ones he might have chose the wrong club. So he chose the right club and just got all of it. When it leaves your foot, you know it. I'm sure he was like, oh boy, that felt good. Great goal. So yeah, I was really happy for Clay. Big night tonight.
Coach, you had a 9-0 shot advantage through the first 20 minutes, and you kind of dominated in all facets. How do you think that set the tone for the match, and how coming out of the gates, how nice was it?
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely intentional about trying to be super aggressive. I thought the guys were fantastic with their defensive organization, which led to our attack. And then when we got the ball, I thought we were really precise, and we found the spaces that we wanted. And guys, they had a pop. They had a pop tonight, and we knew there'd be a good response. It was a tough game on Tuesday, and this is such a great platform. We're back on a beautiful field, and I think the jerseys, they were inspired. First time wearing black. I think it was really kind of important to them, and they wanted to leave that as an important side note tonight. But yeah, we didn't let up. Even the second half, when they got a little bit of it and got the goal, the second, we didn't lose control of the game at that moment, and we didn't just sit and absorb for 25 minutes, which we could have, and I think it could have been still a good result, but we weren't quite ready to do that. We wanted to get the fourth, and we felt like sitting against them might be a little tricky with some of the players they have. So it's a little bit of roll the dice and see if we can still be aggressive. We changed a few things with our confrontation, who released, but we didn't sit. Sometimes sitting's the smart thing to do. I just felt in that moment against that team, maybe it wasn't the right thing. So we were able to keep it 3, and then obviously the fourth at the end is fantastic to get that.
You're in a bit of a different position this year. You had the number 1 RPI coming into today. Obviously, in past years, with the slow start, your RPI got way down, and in a huge run in league play, you won the league, still got a seed, but barely. Given that you've been dominant in the Big Ten, and have won 5 out of the last 7, would you, if given the choice, would you rather, finish maybe a little lower in the league, but have that, top 4, top 8 seed, to make a run at the College Cup, or would you take the Big Ten title, kind of like 2014, where
I want both.
Yeah, but if you had to choose, given that it was...
I don't like the choices.
But yeah, kind of like 2014 was like that, where you were 500 in Big Ten play.
I get your question. Like our mindset, and I'm not being dismissive of the question. I don't really pay attention to RPI. I'm aware that we're 1. I'm not ignorant to know where we are, but it really doesn't matter for a couple of weeks. It really doesn't. And so for us, we want to surge in the Big Ten. We want to be a contender, and if that gets us the RPI that we need, then great. And you can't control all the other games. The good news are the competition that we put together this year is doing really well. Some years, a couple teams have a tough year that you thought maybe would be really good. So it's a controllable is only what's in front of us, and that's kind of what we focus on. I want both, and hopefully we can keep it. When we get out too in front of things is where you get in trouble. So as you always ask about future numbers, scenarios, I had to look today who our next game is. I'm not kidding you.
I
didn't know who our next game was. I wasn't sure if it was Washington or Ohio State. And I was looking at our schedule. It's Washington. I was like, okay, that's the next game. That's how locked in I am. The team is at the present. But you have to be.
Coach, Ben Doe has created a few chances tonight. What does he bring to you as your team as that kind of guy that you can kind of put in different spots, but also kind of as a leadership presence? The guy's been around the block a little bit.
I think Ben's gotten better for us every game. And tonight I thought what was really good I think it was his most comprehensive performance on both sides. He's defended well. in segments, defended really well in periods, had a couple tough, matchups, but we've continued to work on his spacing and his, some of the little details. He's very coachable. The kid's bright as can be. And then tonight, offensively, he was just, and we want him to be assertive. And I thought his times to be assertive were the right moments, the right numbers in the box, the tempo of the game. It wasn't like we didn't need a front half swing at that point. So I thought his decisions and his execution were fantastic. It was his best game. And we need more of that from Ben. And Nolan wasn't, he was available, but we didn't want to, once we had Ben in that position, we weren't going to change it. But Nolan's another guy that we can still lean on when, if we want to, rotate and keep those guys fresh. So, but yeah, Ben was really good tonight.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about that last moment with Wagner scoring. He's been there for 4 years. Palmer said it. He's a glue guy. He's one of your leaders in the locker room. How cool was that to see him finally net one?
It's great, and that's where the team took ownership. That was not from us. They didn't even ask us, which is okay. But that's where you want the team to be like, no, this is Wags needs this goal, and obviously the game was in hand. We had 4 seconds left. I really liked. I thought that guy gave a lot to our team, and Palmer goes up and buries it. Certainly, he keeps his tally going. If he doesn't convert, mentally, I think he'd still be fine, but that would be tough. So I was probably thinking he was going to pass it to someone. I didn't know who, and yet I didn't even know until he literally was going up to take it that he was on it. So I had no chance. I wasn't going to correct it, but usually they look over. But I said, Palmer, it's yours until you defer it. And here are the top 3 guys to defer to if they're in the game. Wagner wasn't in our top 3, but he's certainly capable PK taker, and I love that they just kind of did it. And that's a good sign of the team, honestly.
Speaking of that, getting a penalty with 3 seconds left when you're already up by a goal, does that feel like a coronation? How does it feel to take a penalty in the last couple seconds, knowing good. Making or missing doesn't really affect the result compared to some that are bigger?
I've not had that often. Obviously, with 30 with Michigan was to help us result. So this one was, this is a freebie in ways, but it's not a freebie in many ways because when we count all the points up at the end, goal diff is going to come somewhere in there. And so in reality, it's an important goal. And yet to not give Wags an opportunity as what Palmer wanted and he really wanted a goal, I thought would have been a missed moment for our team. So that's where the goal diff in your head is also fighting what the team needs and maybe for the good of the group. So that I think in the end it worked out good for both.
Coach, go ahead. How do you use this win to kind of create a run like you did in the first half of the season, or your first 6 games of the season, considering Big Ten hasn't gone the best way that it could have?
I mean, just continue to focus on all the good things we're doing. And even in the games that we lost, Michigan State was a tough game. And we controlled that game, but we just weren't we just can't have that many of our key attackers have tougher days. And that was really the gist of that game. I mean, it was tough conditions. I won't lie. The field was really wet. It's slow. It's different than our field. And you could see that affect our players. And, they were playing kind of for their lives in a way. And yet I thought we were tough and we still fought. Just there wasn't an extra gear that we couldn't find it. And I've seen really good teams not be able to do that. It's not, but yet it wasn't poor. So we were focused on the things that we could have done better, our spacing, our decisions, what have you, and then we don't harper on the result. And I think in the Michigan game, there was a lot of good periods in that we did well in. So, if I always use kind of last year's first game, like SLU was just an absolute disaster game. Like those, we haven't had that game. We've played really darn well in a lot of segments. There's been periods of games where we haven't been great, but we've been pretty good. So I think we felt good all year, even with the 2 losses. You just don't want to be fighting the number game as you move through the Big Ten slate, and because we want to be in that top tier to get a chance to win. I think tonight was a really good moment for us to keep us in that fighting opportunity with still 6 games in hand in front of us.
Back to Clay, you talked about him back since preseason. Finally got the goal tonight. Do you feel like he's just kind of just getting started?
Yeah, I mean, Clay was one of our best attackers in preseason. Ask any of our team or our staff. I mean, he was a guy that was going to be playing significant minutes in his form. He takes an injury and he's not available for 5 games. Notre Dame was his first minutes. yet we're getting results. And we knew Clay, once he gets back, he changes like what we can do in that left side. And then we don't have Charlie Hoare out there tonight. He's arguably one of our glue and our connected pieces in the front half, and yet he didn't play tonight. So, we've been able to really put some really important wins against really good competition without some really important players out there, which says a lot, I think, for the group and our depth. I'm pleased for that.
Going back to the defensive efforts, Bruletti and Barger had a couple decisive tackles and deflections down the stretch, and I was just curious how you evaluated their play on the defensive end.
I thought the whole back line. I thought everyone had a good game today, and that's when you have that many guys have good games, you end up with 27 shots, very little against a really good team. So that's what it can look like. Now it's hard to do that day in and day out. But all the factors are there. The emotional piece, they physically felt good. It was a perfect night. We had an amazing crowd. All the things were kind of there for it to come together, and you saw it. And that's why it was such a nice performance. But back to our back line, I think their number 9 is one of the best strikers in the country. He is a handful, and they have some other really good weapons. That's an attacking team with tons of weapons, and they are way better than that record. I mean, that record is not indicative of UCLA. They're going to be a handful for every team. So that's why I felt really good about tonight, because we beat a really good team. We weren't looking at the record. We just go, that team's going to win a lot of games, which will then be another good win for us, and it gets us 3 points in the conference.
Last year after Penn State, when Clay scored that offside goal, you mentioned it was sort of the unofficial first goal for him. Now he's got the official first goal for him. Just what are you hoping to see out of him moving forward, whether it's goals, assists, or any other type of play?
I do think getting the first goal is important mentally, because the guys were cheering for him in the locker room. They knew, because he's been so close, and he's had that was not offside. That was like 3 yards offside last year. It was such a frustrating moment, and he's been so close. Posts, shots blocked. But too many in between that he could have done better with. And tonight was just like really, really good. So I'm really happy for Clay. And he's another game changing player for us. And I think him finding that tonight will only give us another weapon as we look to put out the group that we think can help us win matches.
Time for a couple more.
We good? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.